Greetings, this is Frosty Thundertrod, and today I am bringing you a preview of Black Geyser. Well, not really a preview since this game has been out for 2 years, but a setup guide because I'm going to do a YouTube playthrough for this. Hopefully I actually finish this one. Start off by creating a new game. Also, I'm recording this video using AV1 encoding for the first time, so I'm hoping for better quality. Alright, so here for character creation, you start off by choosing your race. Humans, of course, are jack all trades. They can be any class. They lose a little bit of supernatural stat, but get an okay amount of health.
Breaking rock or breaking skulls, same to me.
Alright, dwarfs can't be any magic casting class, but they get a lot of health, a little bit of extra physique. They get a penalty to charisma and supernatural. They get resistance to poison, acid, 20% resistance to depressive. Some of these terms don't translate very well. Others are very, very literal. This game was not developed in English natively and was translated to English. So a lot of the translations are very literal translations and not necessarily current with how people actually talk. 5% resistance to pulse and blow. This is blunt damage. 5% damage with war clubs and hammers, of course blunt weapons. 5% damage with battle axes. 5% damage with slings and fistballs. A fistball is a sling staff.
My blade is sure, my arrow true.
Elves are pretty standard. They can't be shamans or templars. They get some health, plus dexterity, minus physique, plus 5% damage with bows and arrows, 10% damage with weapons made out of wood, which basically means staffs and a few maces. Resistant to depressive, which basically anything that slows or hinders you. Resistance to illusions and manipulations, mind control. Resistant to pulse and blow, which of course, like I said before, is blunt damage.
My blade is sure, my arrow true.
Feldagug are snow elves. A little bit more health than regular elves. Plus 2 intelligence, minus to charisma, minus to physique, minus plus 1 to supernatural. So these are really your best magic casters. They can't be shamans or they can't be templars.
Cunning serves where violence will not.
They're the large, bulky race. They can be a whole bunch of different classes. I have no idea why they can't be a ranger. Winter mage makes sense because they're a desert people, so it makes sense that a desert people couldn't be a winter mage. And Templar is basically a human-only class. As you can see, they're very well stacked towards being upfront melee fighters, but they do very well as casters too. Plus 15 to starting health, plus 4 health to level, plus 2 maximum physique, minus 2 dexterity, 3 to brewing and drying, 10% resistance to heat, 5% exposure to cold, 5% exposure to illusion and manipulation. So I am going to play as a Rillo. First class up is the fighter. The fighters are your tanks. They give plus 5 to starting health, plus 5 to health per level, plus 2 to physique on top of your racial bonuses. So if you're a Rillo and you want to be a fighter, you can stack your physique bonus from the Rillo race with the physique bonus from the fighter class. to strain and pain. Basically, this is a status effect. 5% resistance to pulse and blow, which again is blunt damage. Alright. 10 plus 1 divided by level damage with two-handed weapons. So if you're level 1, this gives you basically 11 extra damage with two-handed weapons. 10 plus 1. So if you're level 1, this gives you a 10% chance to taunt a target when you hit him with a one-handed weapon. Alright, 10 plus 1/2 of a level chance damage with one-handed weapons. Basically, it's just the same as... It's half the strength of the damage to two-handed weapons. Plus 2 weapon skill per level. Which is very nice.
The light guides me in all things.
Alright, cleric, a very stock standard cleric. This is in this game, clerics are medium armor, not heavy armor. You can multi-class them, which I'll talk about later. But as a cleric, you get extra health, plus 2 focus. Focus is what keeps you from being interrupted and also increases your accuracy. 15 plus 5 divided by 3 levels of resistance to arousal. In this case, charm. You know, this is not, making you resistant to getting horny. This is resisting the chances of your character being charmed. 9 plus 5 divided by 3 levels of resistance, illusion, and manipulation. 20 plus 1 divided by level healing done by spells. So all the healer classes get this one. And clerics get not very much attacking power, but they do get a lot of support power and some healing.
I am never lonely. My friends await my summons.
Convoker is they're a wizard. They're a summoner wizard. Their magic is really nothing special, but they do get these summon bonuses to summons.
Nature is my province.
Alright, druids are basically the healer version of summoners, so they can summon and they have healing capabilities. They can't be rangers because I think it's because their spellbook would conflict with the ranger spellbook. That's the reason why you can't combine these two. They can't use metal weapons or metal armor. Overall, I'd say they're a pretty good class. Their biggest defining thing here is to get a 15 plus 2 divided by a level % duration of spells. So as you cast out buffs or cast summons, they will last longer, which is kind of helpful because most buffs in this game are by a number of turns. You don't have the buff up before you go to a fight. You buff during the fight. So if you buff at the start of a fight, the longer duration might carry you through. Druids cast basically nature spells.
Who dares stand against me?
Highlanders are basically barbarians. They're a different type of fighter from the warrior. The fighter itself, it can be either a high-skilled warrior or a tank, as to where the Highlander is just a brutish damage dealer. Um, 20 plus 1 divided by level damage with war clubs and hammers. This does stack with the dwarf passive. 15 plus 1 divided by 2 levels, chance to cause knockdown with war clubs and hammers. This is a very nice ability because once you knock an enemy down, they're pretty much helpless. And then, of course, a whole bunch of damage resistances. It's a very strong class. I think it really fits the dwarfs well, even though just about any race can be a Highlander.
Your dusk is my dawn.
Necromancer, pretty standard fare. They can use unnatural. They can use dark magic, but they can't use nature magic.
I walk with the spirits. Their wisdom will serve you well.
Alright, Shaman's kind of a halfway house between the cleric and the druid. It gets a little bit more ability in combat, and the fact that it gets a bonus to weapons. Here it goes. 10 plus 5 divided by 4 levels of damage with rods and staves. Then it gives you damage to necromancers, undead, resistance to illusions, and then plus duration to spells, which is also great. That's the same thing that druids get. And then plus half levels increased health for summoned creatures, which is partly what the Convoker gets. And of course, this does stack with the Convoker bonuses if you multi-class.
The wise shall fear my spells.
Alright, the Spellweaver is your general all-around spellcaster. Any type of magic in the game, they can learn it. They can learn holy magic, they can learn nature magic, they can learn arcane magic, all of it.
Keep your eyes on the coin. Where has it gone?
Swindler is one of the 2 thief classes. The Swindler is more focused on scamming, so it's more of a talk and steal. It has slightly better combat abilities than the pure thief.
The shadows are my home. Come, let me show you.
Now, the pure thief doesn't have the bonuses to weapon damage, but they have more sneak attack type of things they can do. Now, if you want to multi-class, what you do is click Add More. Now, when you add more, that increases how much XP you take. Each class has a certain amount of XP that it takes. However, when it says that if you add one class, it takes 20% more XP to level up, and then if you add 2, it takes 40%. That's not quite correct. It's more like it takes 40% to add 1, and then 50% to add 2. That's the way that it actually works in game. But if you make like a
Who dares
Highlander
stand against me? Keep your eyes on the
Swindler,
coin. Where has it gone?
these 2 classes here will level up at about the same rate as a pure Spellweaver. Now, in my opinion, since, like I said, it takes 40% more experience to level up a 2 class, there's no reason not to just do 3. So I'm doing
Cunning serves
Fighter,
where violence will not. I walk
Shaman,
with the spirits.
and Convoker.
Their wisdom will serve you well.
Now, Shaman gives a bonus to staff weapons. Fighter gives a bonus to two-handed weapons. These 2 bonuses work together. Shaman gives a bonus to summons and to duration of spells. Convoker also gives a bonus to summons and the Shaman bonus to summons and spell duration stacks with the Convoker's bonus to summons. Now we have your stat allocation. I go 5 supernatural because this increases your stronger of your 2 type of magic slots. Then intelligence. Since I'm going to want to maximize my spell casting, I go 14. Focus, I take up to 8 because focus gives you more accuracy and the ability to not be interrupted. Physique, I'm going to take up to 8 and dexterity up to 6. This way I don't suffer any penalty to my melee attacks. However, I'm not going to get very much bonus to my accuracy out of my dexterity, but I'm going to make up some of that with my focus and some of it with, and I'll get some more hit points from my supernatural. And I'm going to dump all my resistances here that I get from supernatural into poison and acid. Because you get poisoned a lot early in the game, and by the time you get to a point where you need to worry about resisting heat or cold, you have a lot of options available to do it. That's where, you know, poison and acid's right there at the start of the game before you have much in the way of equipment. Alright, now skills and spells. Every class gets to put 1 point into the general skills, which is bargaining and persuasion, which is, you know, basically your talking skills. Learning and research, this is important for spellcasters because it can increase your ability to learn spells from scrolls. However, it's not a very difficult check, so putting too much into this doesn't matter all that much. It's also used for identifying magic items. Brewing and drying, this is how you make powders, which are thrown weapons, and potions, which everybody knows what potions are. Since I'm going to start off by myself, I'm going to put my first single 1 point into bargain and persuasion. That way I can use bargain and persuasion here at the first start of the game. And then later on, this character is going to focus almost entirely on brewing and drying. Now, class-specific skills. Since I have 3 classes, I have a lot of skills here. Now, fighters, warriors, clerics, and mages get 1 point for class-specific skills. Thieves and swindlers get 2. Seasoned warrior, this just gives you dialogue options, so this is a talking skill. It is useful, but there's just so many other useful things. Same, it's intended for warriors. Theology is the same thing, intended for healers. Prodigy is also the same thing, intended for mages. Outdoor survival. When you camp in the outside, this increases how much hit points you recover during camping. Really, I don't think this is very useful. Tend to wounds. This is another one that when you're resting, increases how many hit points you recover. This is exclusive to healers. These two do stack. Command company. This gives you this is a fighter skill, and it gives you a bonus at the start of battle. So it is good to have one character in your party that has this. For my case, this is going to be a companion that does this. Force doors and locks. This is the fighter version of pick locks. It works just as well. It doesn't damage the loot. Commune. This is a shaman specific skill to let you commune with spirits to possibly get some information or a buff. All 3 of the healer classes have a version of this. Abolish curses. Just let some of the items you get in game are cursed, and you can use this skill to remove the curse from the item. However, with that said, you can just take it to a church and get the curse removed there. Arcane studies. This is useful for any of the mage type casters because it will allow them to have more of the stronger of the two types of spell slots you get. Magic perception. This is basically the ability to detect traps. The trap must be at least partly magical. So far as I can tell, every trap in this game is both partly magical and partly mechanical. So the thieves can detect them and remove them, and mages can detect them and remove them. And the magic warding. This decreases the chances of you being attacked while you're resting in the open world. This is a mage skill. So I'm going to put my 1 point into magical perception. Now, down here, since I have fighter, I get 5 points in the weapons. Normally, as a convoker, I would only get 1 point. Mages and healers get 1 point to distribute, fighters get 5, and thieves and swindlers get 2. Since I am a mage, I'm going to want to use a staff for the bonuses I get from the staff. Has a fighter, I'm going to want to use a two-handed weapon because of the damages I get to two-handed damage. And has a shaman, I'm going to want to use a staff because of the bonuses I get to damage from staffs. Now it says rod and staves, but I have yet to ever see a one-handed rod. I've only seen two-handed staves. Unarmed is a joke, don't bother with it. Bows and arrows are good. Slings and fustables are good. Throwing? I haven't used throwing right now because throwing has a bit of a problem where you don't really get into it until a little ways into the game. Not very far, but you know, still when you're first starting, you don't get any throwing weapons for a while. War clubs and hammers. So far I've only found one-hand versions of these. Large blades, these are mainly your two-handed swords, your great swords, your claymores. Small blades are your one-handed swords, arming swords mainly. Battle axes can be both one-handed and two-handed. Spears and halberds, of course, are two-handed. Spears and halberds aren't bad weapons, but they have an unusual problem where no class gets a bonus to them other than the generic bonus to two-handed weapons from the fighter. Alright, down here you pick my initial spells. I already know all the cleric spells, all my shaman spells. There's a little bit of crossover between the shaman spells and the convoker spells, but not very much. However, there's a huge crossover between the druid and the convoker spells. So in this case here, I am going to choose Wasp Assault. It is a... It uses the stronger of the two type of spell slots we got, and I got nothing else aggressive that'll go into that slot. Now down here, I get to choose 5 fighter abilities. Vengeance gives me a buff. Prolonged Berserk also gives me a buff. Challenging Howl taunts the enemies, which I don't need that on this character. Vigilance gives me a different type of buff. So I am going to put 3 points into Prolonged Berserk and then 2 points into Waylay, because Waylay weakens enemies and Prolonged Berserk strengthens me. Alright, now to set up your appearances. I'm just doing my favorites. Choose anything you want. This isn't exactly the most advanced character creation system. Even for old CRPGs, it's not that advanced. So there we go. This is a fun and entertaining game to play if you like CRPGs, But the fact that this is a low-budget indie game is very, very clear to tell. Alright, give myself a name. Then choose a voice. I don't really like any of these voices, so Scoundrel is just fine. And then I'm going to leave difficulty here in Classic because while this is, I would say mid difficulty, you can still get walloped, in a really short time if you're not paying attention on this setting. And this is kind of the default, so this is what the game is balanced for you to play as. Now, there's only a limited number of companions in the game, and there's actually not a companion of every race and not a companion of every class. So if you wanted to play a class that you did not have, that you couldn't make, let's say you wanted to be this character and I wanted to have a druid in my party too, I could make an additional party member to be a druid because there are no druids you can recruit. But in this case, I'm going to stick with the end-game companions. Which enable main quest guidance. Yes. And this is one of the things you will notice is the loading screens on this game are very, very long.
Oh, why didn't I look here first? And more to the point, why must I come fetch you for every little thing?
Sure, I'm on my way.
Why am I not reassured? Listen, the lords from Isselbright are already here and waiting to be served. And for goodness sake, don't forget to gather your things from your chest before you come to table.
Alright, I'm going to end this introduction here and then come back and actually start my playthrough right afterwards. Thank you very much for watching.